What is going on, world? Hope you're doing remarkable. Dave Conley, Jeremy Newsome, solving America's problems with the blend of quasar markets. Just here to talk about everything that's happening, everything that's moving, and everything that's going on.
It
Dave,
is
want to
the
hear some crazy news?
yeah. Please give me crazy news.
We are at all-time highs. we,
Oh God, that just makes me
highest
twitch.
highest price in human history.
Makes me twitch.
Oh, the markets are up 13% in 2 weeks. Wild town. Wild, wild, wild. And just the reason I'm bringing that up is because this is the fastest recovery that we've ever had, historically or arguably. It depends on a little bit about what data you're using exactly, but
Hmm.
the broader market, like the S&P 500, we had a total decline of almost 10%. Almost, I think it was like 9.678. But again, depends on, I guess, we can round up to 10, makes people comfortable. So you had a 10% pullback, and then now we are at all-time high. So 12% move in 12 days. So happened very, very, very fast. Yeah, but it does make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, especially with
Yeah, think. Yeah,
everything that's happening in the markets right now. Everything that's happening in the world, really.
yeah, yeah.
Just the speed at which that occurred is a little tricky.
Yes, it's look, one of the reasons we do this with the intersection of politics and finance is that if you're not paying attention to politics, then you're really not paying attention to your portfolio. You're not paying attention to your investments. The biggest employer on the planet, the biggest spender on the planet is your federal government. And it's going to affect everything. And we are in this vibe based trading space of crap goes down on the weekends and everything's like time to market closes and opens. And it's total market manipulation and insider trading. And this isn't conspiracy theorists. This isn't like tinfoil hat. This is like it is happening in real time and people are getting filthy rich on posts from the president and it's something else. And saying all of that, look, underneath this, there is a reality. There's the reality of the market, which is what we talk about, and then there's
Mhm.
a reality of politics, which isn't very real. There is a reality of online, which sort of like drives like the chit chat, and then there's reality, and this is base reality. The
Yep.
base reality is there are real molecules that have to like be, like the dead dinosaurs have to be sucked out of the ground and refined, cooked up, and then, poured into everything that we do, So dead dinosaur juice has to make it to where it is, and it's not. And a lot of it is not. And it hasn't for a really long time. And the very last of the last train loads, the last ship loads, the last of everything is reaching its ports right now. And that was our gap. That was it. And then after this, it's like, and that is very, very real. We saw it early in Asia. We're seeing it in Europe. And man, I went grocery shopping this weekend, and I can't even wrap my head around the amount of inflation that's happened so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's no good answer to that. That is stagflation-y kind of like, the president talks about, how he wants to lower rates at the same time as the Fed chairman and on and on and on. Well, I can just keep going. But like
Yeah.
the reality of the molecules is it's the intersection of all of those things where I'm like, hey, there's only so many different realities that can happen until there's a convergence.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of bizarre. I mean, but it's happening, and meaning it's one of the few times I've seen, at least recently, where inflation is rampant in less than 3 weeks.
Right.
Markets are at all-time highs,
Right.
and they did it so it did it so quickly. And that's the kind of the wild. I'm in a place where I'm a little baffled. I'm a little baffled, and I think also that we're going to be in a spot where returning to normal, whatever that's going to look like, is also going to be is going to feel strange. Like we're not going to know what normal is
Now,
because oil prices go down to whatever they go down to, and the prices are probably just going to stay roughly the same, and everything's going to cost roughly the same, and they're all going to just keep making more money. And we as the citizens are going to keep paying more money because we have to, and they're all going to make more money, and we're just going to keep paying the bill and continue going into debt, and it's going to be great. Everything's going to be fine. Not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Let's get up to 50 trillion. Why let's go higher. 50 trillion's the new number. Come
I
on.
I'm getting more crazy libertarian every day. It's like, end the Fed, you know.
Yeah.
I Yeah. Well, you know what? I read that 1929 book, which is something that Steve and I talk about all the time. He's like, I love that book. I'm like, I do too, but it's also frightening. And we're like, yeah. And that 1929 book is like, look, like the disaster didn't happen all at once. And history's moments are only seen through the lens of the past, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it was very unusual to have like the Lehman crash. Like that was like a serious trigger. It's like, oh, we can actually point to that date in October, I think it was, to be like, okay, that's the moment where all these collateralized debt obligations started unwinding. But it's not like everybody didn't know. Like everybody in the Soviet Union knew the system was kind of crazy and like everything was wrong and like we were being propagandized 6 ways from Sunday in the Soviet Union, and they knew for 20 years that it was all BS. And so I do feel like we are in that realm of like experts like yourself, experts like Steven, experts in the field are like, yeah, this is like we've never seen this before, and this is weird, and like the realities aren't there, and I am desperately looking for good news. Like, what's the wind beneath the winds of the economy, of the market, of the you and I have been talking about it a long time. Everything is at record highs, and if everything's at record highs, that is in itself like a displacement of capitalism. It's a displacement of everything can't be at all time highs all at once. Like that has never happened, has it?
Yeah. I mean, it has. That's happened
Really,
before. Yeah,
really.
it's
Has,
happened
has
before.
has it worked out well?
I'd have to go back and check. The short answer is no. There's definitely a larger crash that happens at some point
Yeah.
because I mentioned this to Steve and he got all excited because he felt the same way. I mean, looking at the broader markets, S&P, Dow Jones, like the move that we just had historically looks and feels very similar to 1999.
Yeah.
And, we have a big crash. And if you don't use 1999, then you could use 1927, and there was a lot of similarities there. Also, not that best news. So when you have extremely high moves like this, what I'm looking for, what I'm feeling for, and it hasn't happened yet, fortunately or unfortunately, is general enthusiasm, exuberance from the public about the
Hmm.
market specifically.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds crazy, but that's the only way right now that this market implodes because what's happening right now, to your point, it is purely insider trading.
Yeah.
The entire market is being propped up by Trump and his buddies, and everyone knows what's going to happen before it happens. I mean, we've already seen the data, the trades are right in front of us. We as a general public are like, this is fine, no big deal. No one's going to jail for it. I mean, it is blatant. It is like, especially in the crypto world. Don't even get me started in the crypto world, but it
Right.
is
All right.
blatant how much money is being just siphoned out of the American public, out of these shell companies and these shell organizations with Trump and all of his sons as the advisors for the organizations, for the companies, for the blockchain projects. And until the general public goes, all right, cool, the stock market's the greatest thing in human history. Let's go get a bunch of loans. let's go buy everything because this is incredible and I'm having so much fun. I'm just printing cash
Yeah.
and there's no way that this ends. That's the only way that this ends.
And so yes, I'm very doomy gloomy because of the politics and how that is doing. And on the other side of this is really like at all time highs. Like there are parties to be had here. Like there are things to celebrate. There are things to say, hey, this is like maybe the new normal. Maybe I'm the crazy one. And I mean, like we've had the double or nothing, run of like lower lows and higher highs. I am sending you those $2 silver. That's why I'm making a note here: $2 silver to Las Vegas. I think so. Like, how did Netflix do last week? That was like the last thing that we talked about.
Yeah.
They beat, right?
Yeah, they beat earnings across the board. They gapped down just slightly, which I mentioned was a very likely possibility. And from here, I actually ironically think it'll go a little bit higher. So we were at, let's call it 107 and some change recently. I mean, not recently, Thursday before earnings. So we were at $107. That's when we closed. We gapped down and started trading around 98, which was nice. But there was some really good opportunities. If you're a day trader or if you're someone who's a very active trader, that you could have certainly picked up some Netflix around 95, 90, 94 and some change on earnings day and sell it around 98. So there was some good buy low, sell high opportunities for the most part.
Are you sharing your screen? Sorry.
No, good question.
I mean, you don't have to, but I'm just like,
I was not.
like you're saying amazing things, but I can't put
You're
it
saying
in my
cool
head.
stuff. Well, Quasar, let's do it. Let's get some screen shares going on.
Show me.
So here we
Oh,
go.
there it is.
Give me 3 seconds. So here's Netflix. And again, you had this really, really nice run up here going into earnings. Now, what's interesting about run ups like this, just to think about it. So you have a bunch of buyers coming in. So buyers, 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 buyers. When you have good earnings, ladies and gentlemen, and you have all of these buyers before earnings have come in, what you have to understand is those buyers are going to go, all right, sweet, earnings are great, everything is fine, let me sell and lock in profits. And it's pretty easy to see a lot of times because my thought is if it would have gapped up, so let's say Netflix opens up here, that would have been an even easier short, in my opinion, right? An even easier sell opportunity because all those profitable buyers would be selling to lock in their profit.
Yeah, right.
That's what they do. And when we gapped down, so we opened here, all those profitable buyers had already sold when the earnings came out because, again, they had a really good beat across the board. And yeah, if I pop into, let's just do a smaller time frame. So 5-minute chart, looking at the 5-minute time frame really quick. The reason I'm showing you the 5-minute is just to see like if you had been a buyer around 95 or 96 and some change, the overall stock had a nice little quick drop and then had a good little push. And so this is where you'd be selling it on an intraday level because, well, the people who sold it, that big upper shadow at 98 and some change, they sold again and they sold again. So buying low and selling high made a lot of sense. If you look at Netflix present day at this exact moment right now, it does, to me at least, look, oh, what did I do there? 3 seconds. Days. Sorry about that. This is what's called a high wave indecision candle. And it can go in either direction, up or down. But it does make the most sense to me personally for this overall trend to just slightly continue. So I think the Netflix will kind of come back up, fill the gap, and the party will just kind of resume. There's a lot of big earnings this week, Tesla being a major one. And I'm extremely, extremely interested to see what happens on Tesla. I do think that Tesla will probably, very, very similar to last earnings, end up beating and then trading lower. Now, not dramatically lower. So this is the last earnings right here. So we ended up beating, and you'll notice we had a big drop, a retest, a drop, a retest, a drop, a retest, a drop, a retest, drop, retest. But that was after earnings. I think that we probably gap up small, open around 430, 440, trade down, and then go higher. And again, one of the reasons I think that Tesla goes higher, just like I guess fundamentally, is oil, right? A lot of people are buying Teslas. I know 7 people personally that have bought Teslas for the first time ever. And it's because gas prices are through the roof, and they're like, I don't want to pay any gas prices. And the energy costs, granted, like electricity has gone up slightly, but not as astronomical as oil prices or gas prices. I mean, again, here in Las Vegas, you literally are paying just 2x, just double what you were paying
Wow.
May 1st, or sorry, not
On
May 1st.
electricity?
No,
On
gas.
gas. Yeah. It's way up here too.
Way up, right? March, so whatever you're paying in March 1, mid-April, you're paying 2x that just at the
Wow.
pump, which
Yeah.
has to affect people. I would think.
It's up big here. It's over $4 a gallon here in Miami. That's a crazy talk for around here.
Egregious.
With the last, like the last shipments going into California from now, like literally now.
Yeah.
Like there will be, I mean, there's no upper end of what's going to happen in California. They don't refine enough for what they do. So that's going to, I mean, like I who knows? Could you see $10 a gallon there? It's not crazy.
Very doable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? Sure.
Imagine, like it costs $200 to,
Work
go to, yeah.
for the week. For the week, bro. I mean, that's like, 200, like that's no joke, man. 200
Yeah,
times
Tesla's
4.
going to be big. Well, Boeing's this week too, right? So that's that's our military industrial complex.
Yeah, Boeing is going to be this week.
They're
Printing, man. Lot of big earnings. I mean, so earnings season is here.
Yeah.
Earnings season is right upon us. So we actually get to see how much these companies either are making or have been making, and I think earnings will come in strong because again, just generally from the whole, broader markets of like what's going on. If AI, they're kicking people out. I mean, there are companies firing tens of thousands of employees left and right. They're like, get out of here. We don't need you anymore. Right. / they're going to make more money because they're getting rid of a bunch of employees, and then AI is going to be able to be, to replace some of those jobs or make some of those jobs either more efficient. And I do still think that companies are going to go higher. What I think will be really interesting, Dave, is I think our next chat in Solve America's Problems, I think should be UBI, which for those listeners, that's going to be called Universal Basic Income. The pros and cons, is it actually coming?
Yeah.
What does it look like? Who's taking it? Who's not taking it? How would it get paid out? And just have a general conversation about it, simply because there's going to be more and more and more talk about it. And I do believe that it's going to be good to not getting on the front lines, that's not the right term for it, but just essentially have a broad, open conversation about it from a market perspective, from a financial perspective, from a political perspective, a social perspective, a technology perspective. Get a lot of economists on here. See if we can get Andrew Yang, who wrote. Really, I mean, he was a big, massive proponent of universal basic income a while ago, a long time ago. And he didn't have the strongest tie into AI, but it was essentially like software companies, and companies are getting so big. I mean, he wrote the book like a decade ago, but it's like the companies are getting so big and everyone's making so much money that those companies can help facilitate and offload a lot of the living costs of people because governments are so in debt that they can't do it. So should be an interesting chat. But yeah, that's what's happening right now. I mean, we're seeing the availability of that creeping into people's minds because these companies are firing so many people and they are becoming so much more efficient and making so much more money that in general, they should, what are they going to do with all that extra cash if they don't have all these employees? That's what people are starting to see.
Yeah. Well, I got to wrap my head around UBI, like I heard Elon talk about like it's not universal basic, it's universal high income for everybody. I don't know how that works. It seems like inflation to me. It's like if everybody's getting this amount, then you're going to just see inflation in those areas. I do also think that, like our entitlements and our social safety nets are so poorly run. And, it's like, well, why do we have all this infrastructure for feeding people and for housing and for, like all of those things when, it's like people know where to spend their money. It's like, just cut somebody a check if they are, so like that's kind of universal basic income. It's like, why do we have these giant, infrastructure for for, like why we could use the money in order to pay pay people directly in order to like make sure that they have a minimum basic of like everything, because nobody should go hungry in the United States. Nobody should,
Yeah, totally.
nobody should have, worry about like roofs over their heads. Like they definitely shouldn't have to worry about healthcare, but they do. So, like there's a lot there that has like a social thing. And God, I was listening to a very much I think he called himself a Christian not nationalist. I don't know. I was listening to an interview with a guy, and he's like, "We're the fattest country on the planet," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, there's something to be said about that. Yeah, I get it. And we are also the wealthiest poor people on the planet." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, there's something to be said about that too. But there's also like I don't know. There's a lot to think about there.
A
Let's get
lot.
back to finance and what's going on here.
Yep.
Big on gas, big on Straits of Hormuz. I think from a political point of view, nothing has fundamentally changed, and it hasn't changed in
Nope.
5 weeks, 6 weeks now. So, like we are no closer to anything. Like even the ceasefire was stuck
Yep.
with closing down, the United States closing down ports and things, and that's not a ceasefire. That's like, okay, we're gonna keep on, jamming up your stuff. Just because they're not dropping bombs doesn't mean it's not, acts of war and the rest of it. So like we are well into getting back into a shooting thing here and an escalation and the rest of it. I don't see a way out of this until we get all of the belligerents together in a room and they hug it out, right? Like this is
Mhm.
Israel, this is the United States, this is Iran, and everybody needs to be feeling safe and good and have a future there, and that's how we're going to get out of this escalation trap. But I don't think anybody's willing to do that. Like I don't see it from the president, I don't see it from Israel at all. They seem to like completely abdicate. It's like, like feel like they just ran down the hallway and punched somebody in the face really hard and then ran away. It's like, guys, you were part of this, and you're all up in the grill of Lebanon on top of this, and like, holy smokes. So like there's a lot of toughness here, and a lot of things that need to be done, and I'm not seeing any adults
Correct.
really just driving towards any kind of peace. And like that gets much worse for the economy. It's going to affect the midterms. Like it's a little grim. And so that's why I keep on like, well, the sun came up today. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like it's not doom and gloom. There is a real politique, like there's a reality here of, like it's a pause and a discussion of discussion is not people actually talking. And every single problem, if it's between you and your wife or between, nations, ends with people talking. And until, you get to that point, sitting around the table and hugging it out, we're not there, and we have not been there yet, and that's the tough part.
Yep. I agree.
Hmm.
To your point, nothing's changed. We're in the exact
No,
same position we've been in. Markets have
exact same
changed
one.
somehow. Again, still a head scratcher, but here
Now
we
where
are.
where's the U.S. government get the money in order to prop up all of these or keep the oil prices down? Like where are they cutting that check from? Like is that just like U.S. Treasury and they're like, hey, we're buying it in the open market, or we're going to see it on the Fed balance sheet? Like you can't hide that. It's going to show up somewhere,
Bro, yeah. They're just
right?
printing. One of the coolest Ponzi schemes of all time right now. I mean, everything is backed by the US dollar, and they're like, "Oh, it's
Yeah,
gonna be fine, guys, don't worry." And then and then we just go print more US dollars.
yeah,
That's what we're doing. We're like
yeah.
we're printing our way out of this, which is why inflation is going up, and one of the reasons. Another reason why the debt's going up, because
Right.
to your point, yeah, it's just a Fed balance sheet issue. That's exactly what's happening presently. And and the best part, in order to make sure that everyone stays nice and wealthy from this, the insiders are like, all right, cool. Well, we're not going to shut everything down. Everything's gonna be fine. Like oil's going to drop. Let's go buy a bunch.
Right.
Take a bunch of future contracts. Let's take a bunch of
Right.
trades in
Right.
bulk. And you don't have to hide it from anybody. Like no one's going to care or do anything because, like, we own the SEC right now and the FDA
Right. Right. Right.
and FINRA and the CIA and the FBI. Like,
Right. Right.
they're all there. So we're fine. It's all good. Unbelievable, man. Like the whole crypto thing is still just the most.
Oh. You got me into so much trouble with talking this. It's like, my buddy's Dave. He wants to talk to you about crypto. I'm like, oh, no, you are such an ass.
Hundred,
It was so
hundreds
good.
of hundreds of billions of dollars. You're getting siphoned out.
So let's think about. So we do know a lot of people are, like a lot of these companies are making, adjustments, right? Like they're doing a lot of shifts in things, like they're getting rid of jobs. They're hiring a lot less. I am hearing that from big companies. They're like their incoming classes, as it were, where like it's a third or a quarter of what they would normally do, because they are, like they are in a place where they are getting more productivity. And so they're not yet at the point where it's like, well, we can do a lot more, which is what, like we've been hearing some from our interviews on Solving America's Problems, which there's a link down below for that. On our podcast, it's like, well, companies are also doing a lot more, right? Like they're not only are they more productive, they may not be hiring as much, but they're also way more productive. They're making more money. So like there's this, right? I think, like going forward, there are people getting, like losing jobs. And so like how quickly are they going to get picked up is going to be my question. It's like a lot of them might be picked up really, really quick. Like we may not see a lot of people, in unemployment situations, or they might, create their own wealth, and take that same opportunity that they might have had during COVID. But you might also see like industries that might thrive in this area, like moving companies and
Mm-hmm.
storage companies and
Mm.
companies, because such a blessing in the United States. It's like, well, if you're not happy and you're not being paid where you are, move, and people do, right? And so
Yep.
I think particularly as school gets out here next month, like we might see a lot of folks just like skedaddle and go to where the jobs are.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, that I
right.
agree with. Yeah, that I totally agree with. So again, to your point, man, opportunity never goes away. It only switches places. And as afraid as we may be, or as weird as we might feel, a lot of us as either A, traders, which all of you are, if you're watching this, you're obviously a trader. If you're watching and or listening to this, you probably have some, capital in the markets, and so you're keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
The truth is, when you know how to take advantage of both sides of the market, up or down, there's always an opportunity. So don't be too stressed about it. Follow price action. The guy I've learned the most from, who's no longer living, is Charles Dow. And
Mm.
Charles Dow said price discounts everything. So follow price. Don't worry about the news. The price is going to move the market, not the news. And we're kind of seeing a good reflection of that right now. Although it's unique and very interesting, it still holds true, right? The price of whatever you're looking at is going to be what impacts it. And if you can, as a trader, understand and interpret well price action, you can do extremely well in these markets, up or down. And if not individual companies that you think are going to go higher, go look for the ones that actually are moving higher. I know we're about to sign off, but like ATI Beckley, ticker
Mm.
symbol ATAI, Trump just approved Ibogaine and
Oh,
made
right.
it FDA approved over the weekend because of Joe Rogan was like, dude, everyone's addicted to opioids. And if
Yeah.
they take Ibogaine, they don't their addiction goes away, right? So
Love it.
essentially like psilocybin type of products, other scheduled products that people are spending time and energy with, where it's like, hey, this drug, this medicine that is being worked on right now is currently illegal, and here's why it was illegal. And he did this really big documentation and discussion. So in my just opinion, that does create opportunity. And again, for all of us who are listening or watching, those opportunities can be interacted with. So it's like, let's go create some income from something that is moving in the direction that you want it to move. Do some research, pounce, create some cash flow for your family, pay off debts, buy assets, and be smart, because that's the market we're in right now.
That's where we are. It's choppy, and don't put your, like this is, what can you actually control? You can control like what you pour into your body,
Mm-hmm.
and the poison you read online. So like, like you gotta keep those at arm's length, right? And don't put your head in the sand. That's what we want to
Yes.
say here is like, you got to keep it, you got to keep one eye open on what's going on in the real world. You can't just be only focused on your charts, only focused on the price action. We are in choppy times, like it's not clear which way is what, which way is up, which way is down. We just know that it's uncertain times, and uncertain times you can make a lot of money and you can also lose your shirt. So just
Mhm.
be mindful.
Yep. That's
Here we
it.
are.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for listening and tuning in. We will be back next week to do it again.